Today is December 6th, and my name is Brian Jennings, and I will be conducting an interview with Mr. Joseph Roman at State University. And I just want to start off saying hi, and how are you today?
Doing fine, thank you. How are you people doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
It's quite snowy out today.
Yeah, it's kind of brisk, and hopefully the sun will come out and cheer up things a little.
Great. I just wanted to say though that it's a privilege and a pleasure to have the opportunity to sit down and talk with you today about your experience in the military. But I guess the first question I'm going to start out with is, what war did you serve in?
World War II.
World War II. Okay.
In the Marine Corps.
So the branch of the military that you served in was
The United States Marine Corps
Marine Corps.
Reserve.
Okay. Did you enlist in the military, or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
You enlisted?
Right.
Do you remember the exact date?
Let me get some information out here.
Okay. This is just a picture of him in the Marine Corps.
Right. Volunteered in New York City on December 15th, 1942.
Okay.
You can ask the questions. I'll have the answers from here, most likely.
Okay. Do you remember how old you were when you entered the military?
About 19, I believe.
19 years old.
Uh-huh.
What was your line of work before entering the military?
My line of work before I entered the military, I was employed by let me see, National Carloading Corporation in New York City. They were a freight forwarding company, so it was in the line of transportation. And I worked for them for about a year or so before I decided to go and take a course in radio communication. So basically I was employed in transportation just before I joined the Marine Corps.
So you're living in New York at that
I
time?
was living in New York, right. I was born here in New Britain, but 9 years old I moved to New York, and that's where I got my education. I completed high school. I had hopes of getting to college, but with the war, I had to put that aside, and I joined the Marines.
Okay, so in the Marines, what was your job?
Well, what happened was, after I completed my basic training at Parris Island, South Carolina, I was assigned to the radio communication school at Camp Lejeune, New River, North Carolina, and I continued in that, and I became a radio, high-speed radio operator in the Marine Corps before I shipped out through Camp Pendleton, California, overseas. So.
Okay, can you tell me about like your first experiences of being in the Marine Corps? Like, what was it like when you first, where did you, have to report to?
Well, basically, it was a case of training here in the United States, first of all, in the boot camp at Paris Island, then got further training at Camp Lejeune, and also some more training at Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, California, before we shipped out overseas. We headed for Guadalcanal, where we prepared for our first combat at Guam around April of 1944, something like that. And that was basically the training that I received, and I utilized that in combat as a radio operator at Guam and so forth.
Okay. Can you describe for me like what a typical day was like for you?
Where we're at?
Being radio in the Marine Corps.
Well, first of all, you went to radio school there, and we led a regular military life. Get up and train all day, and if I wasn't in class, taking high-speed, practicing high-speed radio reception, why we took care of any other things that were required at the base. And that generally was a full day's work while you were training. But when you went into combat, it was something else. You just had to fit in whatever was required.
Did you have any kind of a family or like a girlfriend? Were you married at the time? You know, when you first entered at the age of 19?
I wasn't married, let's put it that way. I just had a girlfriend, Margaret Lafayette, and I knew her for about a half a year before I enlisted, and we kept in touch at that time through my whole through the whole period that I was in the Marine Corps, and we eventually married, and we're going to have we had our 63rd wedding anniversary this year, so she was my one and only, so does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. How was she affected though by you going off and joining the Marine Corps?
Well, she wrote me regularly. We kept in touch regularly. She was working in New York City at the time, and she had regular chores that she took care of, so forth. A regular gal's life more than anything else.
Right.
So.
Did you ever engage in any battle?
Yes.
Any kind of battle?
And mostly on Guam. I came in with the second or third wave that attacked the island, and I was with I was assigned to the Joint Assault Signal Company. It was one of those I was assigned to each of the 5 Marine Corps divisions. In other words, it's what they call JASCOs, and it consisted of radio and telephone personnel, Marines, and we provided transport. Well, the 3rd JASCO section had a shore and beach party. That was the section that I was in, and I provided transportation on the landings at Guam and along the shoreline. Then the 2nd section consisted of teams that were handling shore fire control. In other words, taking care of all the firings between the shore and the head. And then the 3rd section of the 3rd JASCO was the air liaison. They provided communication between the planes and the ground personnel or ships or whatever else was required. And basically that's the type of work we did in the front lines. When being on a shore and beach party, after the landing was made and the shore was secured, I was assigned to help the radio man on the 3rd Battalion of 9th Marines, and I worked with him through most of the Guam campaign. Unfortunately, he didn't survive it. When we were out in the front lines, things got rather rambunctious there, and when he was working with me, I was operating the radio at the time. He was providing cover as much as possible. The enemy fire was so terrific that he unfortunately got shot through the head, and he never came out of it alive. His name was Nick Caruso there, and he was a fellow from Pennsylvania. I only knew him for a brief period of time, from the time that I was assigned to his outfit, and until he didn't survive the battle. But the Battle of Guam lasted something like 3 weeks. I think it was from about July the 20th to August 10. So he was shot on August 3rd there. So, all right. Excuse me. After making the our initial landing on Guam, we were our team of 20 people, 20 guys, were split up. I came in with the initial waves there with our lieutenant and one of the radio men. We got in with an amphibious tractor, which came through without any problems, but the rest of our team of 20 came in with the Higgins boat that got hit and by enemy mortars, and all the team came through except one little guy that shouldn't have been with us. He was only 16 years old. Wow. And so that was the heartbreaker part of the landing of our team. But we had our lieutenant. He hailed from Southington, Connecticut here, Bob Simpson. Apparently, after we made the landing, he had developed a thyroid problem, and that was the last I had occasion to work with him. Apparently he was surveyed out soon after that. Some top sergeant took over our team, and that's the way we worked along from there. But I stayed with the 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines through the rest of the Guam battle, and then we stayed on Guam until our next campaign, which was at Iwo Jima, and that was in February of 1945. I think it was February 1945. Because we didn't have a lieutenant, most of our Sherman Beach Party team was aboard ship in reserve, waiting to make a landing if they needed us. But apparently, without a lieutenant, why we were never called in, unlike the other 8 teams that were with our in our organization. That's substantially the experience that we had, but that Iwo Jima was one of the bloodiest battles that in the Marine Corps history. If you're unaware, there were around 6,800 Marines that were killed in that battle. Well, there were Marines from not only the 3rd Division, but from the 4th and the 5th Division. So, in addition to the 6,800 that were killed, there were close to 20,000 that were casualties there. So that was one of the worst battles that confronted the Marines during its entire history. That's substantially it. Our team at Iwo was aboard ship ready to land, but they never called us in. But we did have the misfortune of seeing so many of the 6,800 being buried at sea there, and it was heartbreaking. That's substantially the experience I had in the 2 combats I was in, the Guam campaign and the Iwo Jima campaign. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So was Guam like the only place you were stationed during the war?
Overseas? Well, let's put it this way. When we shipped out of Camp Pendleton, we trained briefly at Guadalcanal. In fact, this picture is this is a picture of our team that was taken on Guadalcanal. If you need those, you can keep them. It's up to you.
I don't need to keep them. Just want to.
Oh, you take it. So it'll serve the same purpose, right? So anyway, as I was going to say, you asked me a question on.
Was Guam the only place you were stationed, or?
That was the predominant place we were stationed. We only stayed in Guadalcanal for about a month. The third division was supposed to be in reserve for the fourth and fifth divisions, which were attacking two other islands in the Marianas branch there, Saipan and Tinian, and we worked. Let's see. We went through the Guam campaign, which was about 3 weeks. After that, we stayed at Guam, or should I say the 3rd Marine Division stayed at Guam until the Iwo Jima campaign. And after the Iwo Jima campaign, we again went back to Guam. We're preparing for the attack on Japan, but if you're unaware, they dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, so that took care of that. But the Guam was the main base for the 3rd Marine Division when we were overseas, and that's where we stayed. So,
where was your favorite place that you were stationed at during the war?
Well, basically it was Guam. I mean, that's where we spent most of our time, and that's, I would say, you're talking overseas or?
Well, just in general.
Well, in the United States was the best place.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I would say Camp Lejeune was the place I stayed longest at, and that would have been recognized as a favorite place. That's where I spent most of my time at school there, in radio school, and training there. So that would be considered the best of all the possibilities.
Did you have a least favorite place?
What?
A least favorite place that you were stationed?
I wouldn't pinpoint any place. They're all right. It was all in a day's work. We were there to get a job done. We did it the best way we can, and I never had any complaints about any place I stayed at. We had a regular bunch of Marines in all the places, so no problem in that respect.
What did you like most about doing radio for the Marine Corps?
It was, I had the feeling that I was accomplishing something. It was a dangerous type of mission. You had to concentrate on your work. At the same time, you know what the enemy was up against. That's why you usually had 2 people working together, and they clicked a lot better that way. It would have been very difficult to operate a radio and use a rifle at the same time. We had that Morse code in those days, and that we didn't have those little cell phones or anything like that. So, and likewise, the telephone men that were part of our team, they had to string wire and keep that alternate means of communication running smoothly. So I found it very educational and experience that I got working with that. So I did it before I entered the service and fitted in perfectly.
What was the toughest part about doing radio?
I have, I don't think I can pinpoint anything. It was a case of keeping your mind on what was going on all the times. You couldn't concentrate on one thing. You had to be prepared to take care of whatever was coming at you. So,
what was your most memorable experience in the Marine Corps?
most memorable experience?
Mm-hmm.
I would say when we got news that the atom bomb was dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which meant that there was a good possibility that our regular fighting grind was just about over. It meant that instead of heading for Japan, we stood a chance of heading for home, which we did. That's about the most memorable one. And also the experience that I had with my buddy Caruso there. That'll never escape my mind. Those are the things.
So what was like the atmosphere like, you know, after we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki? You know, what was it like, you know, in the Marine Corps? It's like
It was a sigh of relief that it was a case of either staying in the service for more years or going home. Most of the 20 men that we had in our outfit were in for around 3 years. So with that was sufficient reason for them to be sent home. And at that time, we were just about close to 2 years overseas, so that was a real good break to get that relief instead of going further into combat in Japan. So I would say that would be just about it.
And like what?
Excuse me.
That's fine.
Well,
like what kind of job did you serve though? Like when we dropped the 2 atomic bombs, like what role did you play in that?
atomic bomb?
Yeah, the 2 atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Did you play any kind of role in that?
No, we didn't play any significant role that I'm aware of. We did our regular work, but we didn't get involved in either the preparation or the firing or anything like that as far as the atom bombs were concerned.
Can you remember, can you recall like, you know, any other, like, what was your most horrific experience? Besides, if there were any besides the incident you had with the 16-year-old, is there any other horrific incidents?
Just when my buddy was shot right next to me on the front lines. That's the horrific experience that I had.
What was going through your mind when that happened?
I was too busy operating the radio at the time, so...
So your mind really wasn't on?
Well, I had to take care of what was going on the radio, keeping the communications running smoothly. It was mostly voice there, it wasn't Morse code, so I had to get a corpsman at the time and to help him out. I wasn't sure what his condition was until the corpsman showed me his helmet and so forth. That might be considered the most horrific experience I had. It could have been me as well as him, fortunately.
Right.
He got it.
So what would be like the consequences if you didn't do your job correctly, running the radio for the Marine Corps? What would be like the consequences to that if you messed up or,
Well, you wouldn't help the other outfits in doing their work either. Unless they were furnished with all the necessary information, they couldn't do their job right. That's basically what it boils down to.
Okay. So like, you know, during when you were in the Marine Corps, was there like one special thing that you like kept with you that helped you get through like, you know, your toughest times?
Well, I would say my faith in God and everybody that helped me get through the toughest times.
So were you a very religious person?
I tried to be as much as possible. What happened to me was my father passed away when I was a month old. My mother passed away when I was about 5. So I spent my younger days here in New Britain, in the orphanage here. And I used to be an altar boy. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. You serve at Mass up here. And the orphanage was run by the nuns. And they also had different schools and homes in different states in New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and so forth. So they needed an altar boy in New York City. So they decided I might be able to help them out in that respect. So I was an altar boy there from about 1932 until I finished high school. They used to have Mass there practically every day, so I helped them out that way. And so I helped them out in that respect. I used to stay in New York during the regular school years, then I'd come here to New Britain and spend a couple of months here and then go back there again that way. And until I got to high school, instead of coming here for the summers, I used to go and help out people on farms upstate New York. That way I paid for part of my high school education in New York City. So that had a very important which I call significance in my life and in the service too.
So did you keep like any kind of like, did you keep the Bible on you, rosary beads?
No, not necessarily. It was more just inward more than anything else. I didn't, you couldn't carry all those when you were in combat. You were limited to what you could bring along. So, but otherwise it was just regular life with the Marines. So.
How many times a day did you pray?
I couldn't, it all depends on the circumstances I was in. So, but I couldn't pinpoint it to say 2 or 3 times a day or anything like that. You say your morning prayers, you say your night prayers, and in between whatever comes up. That's it.
So were there times like when you were, you know, in near-death experiences where you just started to pray?
Thank God I wasn't near a death experience except my buddy there.
Right.
And that's the time normally you do pray. There's no question about that.
Can you actually tell me some of the stuff you did bring with you, you know, in the Marine Corps? What were some of the main things you had with you?
What do you mean? While I was in or when I came out or what?
Oh no, when you were in the Marine Corps, like stuff you took with you, like when you were you know doing radio.
Well, you had your rifle, bayonet, all your war gear that you needed. You had to take that along. You had a backpack that you stuffed it in. It all depends what circumstances you were under, determined what you carried with yourself. But it was very limited. I mean, you had to concentrate on what was required in combat.
Was there ever a moment that you regretted, being in the Marine Corps, that you just said to yourself, I can't do this anymore?
No, that never happened. I was always too busy on the go to stop and worry about something like that. You have to be on the alert, and that's what I try to do most of the time. Get my job done, help out my buddies, and that's essentially it.
So, earlier you said, doing radio for the Marine Corps, it definitely benefited you and, gave you experience, for, what kind of work you did. How did it benefit you, though? Like, in what way?
Well,
What did you get out of doing radio for the military?
it taught me to be alert, keep on your toes and everything like that. There's always something new coming on that you're hearing, and you had to coordinate it and fit it in with what was going on about you and other people that you were dealing with. That's the way I looked at it at the time. So that kept me pretty much on my toes at all times. So.
Do you keep in touch with anyone that you served with in the Marine Corps still today?
Yes, I do. One in particular, in fact, he's on this, in this picture. He's in the back. They're all these 20 were from all parts of the United States. And there was John Rosinski. I enlisted in New York. He enlisted in New York. We were only 2 New Yorkers in the 20-man team there. So I've been in touch with him right along. He's still in Brooklyn, New York. So we had that much in common. And he is a godfather to our youngest son. So we got together with him recently at the Iwo Jima Survivors Association reunion that we had at Branford, Connecticut, just a couple of months ago. And he's, I'm in a little better health than what he is, but he's hanging in there and doing the best he can. So he's about the only one of all the 20 of us. He's the only one that's, we're the only 2 that are left, with the exception of our commanding officer, John Ellis, who's all the way out in California. And but we've kept in touch with quite a few of those after the war. Well, not so much. For about 10 years after the war, we were kind of busy taking care of the family and everything like that. But after that, they started reunions in different places, so we'd meet some of them occasionally. But they're recently, the only one I'm in contact with is John. They used to call me, we're the 2 Polish fellows in our group. They called me Ski, and John Rosinski was called Murphy, so made it a lot easier. What happened was, I don't know if I got my dog tag here. No, I guess I don't, but my original name family name was Rumyanovsky. Somewhere along the line, with not having parents at an advanced age, that was changed to Romanowski. And that's the name that most of my Marine Corps records are under, Joseph Michael Romanowski. And after the war, because of the problems I had with the name, I just cut the name in half to Joseph Michael Roman. That's the way it fits in the picture. So
when you get together with John,
yeah.
you say you two are the only ones left besides the one in California.
Yeah.
What do you guys talk about?
Some of the olden times, some about our buddies and some of those experiences that we encountered together. Basically, that's what it boils down to. But
so do you recall mostly of times being in the Marine Corps with him?
Yeah, we had. I didn't. What happened was we were both in radio school, but not at the same time. When I was assigned to the radio school, he was assigned to some duty at San Francisco. And so I didn't know him until after that San Francisco shift of his, and they formed the Third Joint Assault Signal Company. From there on in, we were pretty much in touch with each other. So we worked together as radio men and so forth. And we were discharged together in New York City, so all the more reason for our close connections through the years. So after I was discharged from the Marine Corps, my wife and I were married in New York City area, so we kept pretty close together with John through our stay in New York. And what happened mostly was I managed to be in good health through the 3 years I was in the Corps. But when I was discharged, when I was going to St. John's University in Brooklyn, New York, I had a few bouts with hepatitis. I had to spend about a month in the St. Albans Veterans Hospital in New York. So I had about 3 spells of that during the first couple of years that I was going to St. John's University. What happened after about 2 years, I had major problem. I had a subdural abscess that had to be operated on, but that was well taken care of while I was in New York. I snapped out of that. I transferred from St. John's University to New York University because St. John's didn't have a major in transportation, which was a field that I wanted to get into. And so I went I transferred to New York University. I got my degree from New York University, and since that time I haven't, for about 40 some odd years, never had any problems with the sick problems that I had during that couple of years immediately after leaving the Marine Corps. So the main reason for that was I decided after I got my degree from NYU that I'd come back to my hometown and see what I could do around here. And I managed okay. I got my transportation degree, and I worked for a motor carrier for about 15 years, Middle Atlantic Transportation Company. They were merged with the carrier. They asked me to, if I was still interested, to go back to New York. I told them, I don't think so. I stayed here, and I had another position as a tariff supervisor with the, that's in transportation, tariff supervisor with the Motor Transport Association of Connecticut. And I worked with them for about 18 years. I retired in 1986, and well, I was a consultant to them for a few years, and so I've managed to retain my good health since I had that surgery in New York, and so far so good. Here we are.
So, do you remember the exact date when you left the Marine Corps, when they sent you home?
Yes. They sent me home. I was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps Reserve at Great Lakes, Illinois on December 19, 1945. December 19, 1945. Go ahead.
And that was the year the war ended, right? 1945.
Yeah, 1945 was the when Truman dropped the bombs.
So they sent you home immediately following the dropping of the atomic bombs.
And not immediately. I think the bombs were dropped around August 15 or something like that. We were still on Guam, and we stayed there for a few months. You had to have a certain number of points before you could be discharged, and when I had enough, and when John Basinski had enough, why, then they sent us back to the States, and we came back together that way. And but it was in December. In other words, I enlisted in the Marine Corps in December of 1942, and I got my honorable discharge in December of 1945. So it was a total of about 3 years.
So you were about 22 when they sent you home.
Yeah, about that. Yeah. I was born in 1923, so that would make me about that.
Do you have any? Did you receive any medals or awards for your service?
Yeah, whatever is shown on here, these.
You don't actually have them on you.
No, but I've got the two stars on there with the battle ribbons and everything right here.
And
So,
what were those? What did they stand for?
well, they stand for the Pacific Theater of War. That was the main one that I was in. Honorable Discharge was another one, and possibly one other one. But I'm not too sure what they are. I don't have them in here, so. But
is there any kind of advice that you would give to someone about serving in the military today if you were to go in?
I would encourage any youngster that's in good health to join the Marine Corps. Wouldn't hesitate. It wouldn't be the easiest life in the world, but I had no regrets for the time that I served in there. And if they can survive it, it'd be very beneficial to them to join the Corps.
So, what do you feel was different about serving in the military, when you enlisted, as opposed to the military today?
I don't have too much to say about that, but it appears that totally different warfare right now. In other words, we were in combat most of the time. I don't think the same conditions exist today in Afghanistan, Iran, or Iraq, or any one of those. It's more hidden type of warfare, and I think they're under more pressure than what, I mean, the servicemen today are under more pressure because of the uncertainty of the enemy and the method of fighting. I think we stood a better chance in our days in World War II than the youngsters stand today from the type of warfare that's being conducted. In other words, we fought the way a battle should be fought. Today it appears that the cards are maybe not set the same way.
So today we're at war for the wrong reasons.
No, I wouldn't say that, not necessarily. I'm saying the type of protection that you get out there. From what we hear from the media, the enemy has more protection than the servicemen do today. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. In other words, when they go into when our servicemen go into combat, they're restricted to get at the enemy. The enemy's surrounded by families and everything like that. So I don't know how much truth there is to it, but they mentioned that they give awards for holding off firing instead of just arbitrarily, holding off and getting permission to fire instead of just fighting the way we did in our days or the way they fought against us in our days. It was wide open. I don't think it's wide open today. So,
Okay, well, we're going to start to wrap things up. I just have a couple more questions.
fire away.
I'm still a little unclear about this. Describe for me, like, the process, of doing radio for the Marine Corps. Like, what was it like? Tell me some of the tasks you had.
Well, you had to, first of all, they had different grades of radio operators. You had the regular type that just used voice without the Morse code. I had the Morse code, and I was in that high-speed radio operator section in Camp Lejeune, and you had to not only send out messages, you had to receive them, you had to log them, keep a log on them, and so forth. So it was, and at the same time, if you were in combat, you had to watch. If you were in the front lines, you had to either have somebody stand guard over you, or you had to do it yourself while you were still operating the radio. So you always carried a rifle with you, regardless what the conditions were. So, and you had to manage the best way you could. So
Before you said, you talked about how Iwo Jima was so, bloody, and it was,
right.
one of the, the most horrific battles of the war.
Right.
What stood out about it to you? You know what I mean? Like, why do you think it was so bad?
Just from the slaughter that was there more than anything else. They had more Marines slaughtered in that battle than anywhere else. But we had to take the island to protect the planes that were bombing Tokyo. In other words, the planes would originate, say, from Guam and possibly Saipan and Tinian. Well, Tinian, I think, was the island that the atom bombs were, flights were originated from. But they had to, how you call, take Guam so that, or should I say, they had to take Iwo Jima to give the Tokyo planes that we used to bomb Tokyo, give them a place to protect themselves and stop in case they were shot up or something like that. So that was the main reason why they had to take that island, and regardless of the cost, and it served its purpose. Even while we were still in the initial stages of that Iwo campaign, there were our planes that were bombing Tokyo were forced to land on Iwo, and but the Japs were prepared for us there. They only had about 22,000 of their own military personnel on that island, and they were dug in that deep in caves and everything that we lost double the amount that they lost of their own fighters. I mean, their own Marines, soldiers, or whoever else they had there. But that Iwo served its purpose once it was secured. It made things a lot easier in bombing the Japanese side. That probably saved us from having to land in Japan. Could be, not only for what happened on that island, there were some other islands in that area, if I'm not mistaken. So
why do you think the Japanese were, so much more prepared than us?
they were ready to protect the and those islands were always theirs. We never, unlike Guam. Guam belonged to the United States before World War II. So whereas Iwo and the other islands north of Iwo there were always possessions of the Japanese. So they had all their caves and dugouts and everything there for years, no doubt. And even with all the bombing, strafing that we did up there before the landing, we still were butchered when we tried to take that island. So it was a mess, and thank God we got through it without further damage, and it accomplished its purpose too. And that's the most important thing.
So looking back at your experience with Iwo Jima, is there just one moment that just, basically just above all the rest just stands out to you?
No, I would say the experience on Guam would stand out more than at Iwo. As I mentioned to you, we were in reserve for Iwo. We were prepared to make the landing, and we didn't have to. But on Guam, we actually were in the front lines and everything like that, so that's left a more lasting experience.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I think you covered the subject pretty well.
Asked enough questions?
Well, that's your job. You're doing a good job. That's all I got to say. And you too. Make it too. So if you have any further questions, I'll answer them the best way I can. As I say, if you want this, you can have it. You can add that to your collection. So.
Overall, though, what do you think you got out of serving in the Marine Corps? Like looking back on it now,
Well, let's put it this way, it made a man out of me. That's the most important thing. I learned things in the Corps that I would have never been exposed to in civilian life without it. So, but it wasn't the easiest life, but it helped me in for the rest of my life up to this time. So I wish we had a few more of our buddies around still, but unfortunately such is not the case. So Marianas Islands from July 21st, 1944 to August 10, 1944, and at Iwo Jima Volcano Islands from February 19, 1945 to March 26, 1945. I was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps Reserve at Great Lakes, Illinois on December 19, 1945. With court approval in 1951, my name was shortened to Joseph Michael Roman. Today, my Social Security number remains the same, as assigned to Joseph Michael Romanowski years prior to my enlistment in the Marine Corps. Kindly advise if I can be of further assistance to you in this matter. That's signed by Joseph Michael Roman, if that's of any help to you. And then you're not interested in my post Marine Corps life, are you? Well,
What do you have to add?
nothing good. Just what I did since I was discharged from the Corps. You want me to rattle it off? In line with your recent request, the following is my life after 3rd JASCO summary. Soon after my departure from 3rd JASCO on Guam in November 1945, I enjoyed a brief stop off en route in Hawaii, where I boarded the cruiser Tuscaloosa for Treasure Island, California, then journeyed to my Marine Corps discharge at Great Lakes, Illinois, arriving in New York City, my enlistment point, just before Christmas 1945. Within a month, under the GI Bill of Rights, I enrolled at St. John's University in Brooklyn, New York, only to be plagued by recurring bouts of hepatitis, necessitating a few regular monthly stays at St. Albans Veterans Hospital, Long Island, and eventually undergoing a subdural abscess surgery during the winter of 1947. After a relatively speedy recovery, I resumed my college education at New York University, earning in January 1950 a Bachelor of Business Administration degree, majoring in transportation. For health reasons, this turned out to be an ideal time to return to my hometown, New Britain, Connecticut. While employed in the traffic department of the Mid-Atlantic Transportation Company, supplementing my college degree, I qualified as an Interstate Commerce Commission practitioner. In January 1970, I accepted a tariff supervisor position at the Motor Transport Association of Connecticut, specializing in the preparation and filing of motor carrier freight tariffs with the Interstate Commerce Commission and neighboring state motor carrier regulatory agencies, concurrently working closely with the various motor carrier tariff publishing bureaus. Although retiring in 1986, I remained active for a few years as a part-time motor carrier tariff consultant. I married Margaret D. Lafayette in August of 1947, and we are looking forward to celebrating our, well, now it's going to be 63rd anniversary. We have 3 sons, ages now 53 to 60, 6 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. I am a life member of the Iwo Jima Survivors Association of Connecticut and the Knights of Columbus. Also a member of the Marine Corps Association. During my transportation career, of all the interesting contacts made as a member of the Interstate Commerce Commission Practitioners Association, the Delta Nu Alpha Transportation Fraternity, and the Quarter Century Traffic Club, none are as lasting as the friendship I've developed in the 3rd JASCO, Semper Fi, Joe Roman. And that was a letter sent to Paul Hunt in January 10, 1997, if that's of any help.
No, that was great.
Uh-huh.
I just want to say thank you very much, though, for taking the time to sit down with me and share your experience of being in the Marine Corps during World War II. It was an honor and a privilege.
Oh, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to familiarize yourself with this information. I hope it helps you out with your position there. You're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roman.
You're welcome.